Okay, let's unpack this. It is January 2026.
Right.
And the world looks, well, it looks a little different than it did just a few years ago, especially if you work in healthcare or pharmaceutical.
Oh, it's a huge difference.
We've watched artificial intelligence move from being this shiny, intimidating buzzword.
Right. Something you'd see in a pitch deck.
Exactly. Something to scare up venture capital to becoming a fundamental utility. It's almost like electricity or the internet now, sitting right in the heart of medicine.
It really has been a seismic shift. I mean, if you look at the workflows today versus, say, 2023, it's completely night and day. It's embedded in the daily grind now.
It is. But here's the thing about powerful utilities, right?
Yeah.
If you don't wire the house correctly, things burn down.
Mm-hmm.
And that is exactly where we find ourselves today. We are looking at a document that I think history might actually look back on as the rule book for this new era.
I think so, too.
It's titled Guiding Principles of Good AI Practice in Drug Development.
And it's not just any document. I mean, this isn't a white paper from some think tank. This is a heavyweight collaboration.
A really big one.
We are talking about a joint release from the FDA in the United States and the EMA, the European Medicines Agency in Europe.
I noticed that immediately. The first thing you see, that EMA logo right there next to the FDA's, that's striking.
It is.
This isn't just one country making suggestions. This is, international alignment.
Which is absolutely crucial. Science doesn't stop at borders.
Not at all.
And if you are developing a drug today, you are almost certainly doing it for a global market. You want to sell in New York and you want to sell in Paris.
Right.
So having the two biggest regulatory bodies in the Western world shake hands and say, okay, this is how we are going to do AI, that is a massive signal to the industry.
It stops fragmentation.
It stops the fragmentation of regulation before it even gets out of hand.
Yeah. So here's our mission for this deep dive. We know our listeners are busy professionals. They might be in pharma, tech, they could be investors.
Or just curious about the future.
Exactly, just trying to figure out where this is all heading. So we are not going to read you a legal textbook. That would be, frankly, incredibly boring, and you don't have the time.
No.
We're going to take this complex regulatory framework and boil it down to the 10 actionable principles they've laid out.
Precisely. And the goal of this document isn't to stifle innovation. It's really the opposite.
It's to enable it.
It's about understanding how to innovate responsibly. It's the guardrails that let the car go faster without flying off the cliff.
I love that analogy.
If you want to use AI to find the next cancer cure, well, these are the rules of the road.
Okay, but before we get into the list, we have to define our terms. When this document says AI, what are we actually talking about? Because, my fridge claims it has AI now.
Right. My toaster probably thinks it's sentient.
Exactly.
Yeah. And we aren't talking about smart fridges here. In this context, the regulators are defining AI as system-level technologies that are used to generate or analyze evidence.
Okay. And the scope?
The scope is massive. It covers the entire life cycle of a drug.
So not just the finding the molecule part, not just that early discovery phase.
No. We are talking non-clinical research, clinical trials, post-marketing surveillance, and even the manufacturing floor. So if you are using an algorithm to decide if a batch of pills is up to code, that falls under this umbrella.
Okay.
If you're using machine learning to analyze adverse event reports after the drug is already on the shelf, that's covered too.
So the stakes are just incredibly high here.
They are. You have to remember, at the end of the day, drugs are authorized based on 3 pillars: quality, efficacy, and safety.
The big 3.
Right. And if AI is going to be part of that process, it has to reinforce those pillars. It absolutely cannot be the weak link that causes a safety failure.
You can't have a super efficient process that leads to a drug that hurts people.
You just can't. That's the bottom line.
Okay, so let's get into section 1 here. The context and the why. Why does this document exist now? I mean, we've had machine learning for a while. Why this sudden joint release in January 2026?
Well, we've had the tech, but the sheer volume has just exploded. The use of AI throughout the drug product life cycle has increased so significantly in just the last few years.
We're seeing it everywhere.
Everywhere. And the regulators recognize that there are massive benefits on the table. They aren't trying to stop it. They are very much trying to harness it.
The document actually lists a few specific benefits, which I thought was interesting. It's not all, doom and gloom regulation.
Not at all.
They mention promoting innovation and reducing time to market.
Which is the holy grail for pharma, right? Drug development usually takes a decade, costs billions.
Yeah.
If AI can shave years off that, it saves lives and it saves money. But they also mention strengthening pharmacovigilance.
Which is drug safety monitoring, right?
Exactly. Spotting side effects faster than a human ever could. I mean, imagine scanning millions of patient records in real time to find one rare reaction. Humans can't do that at scale. AI can.
But there was one specific benefit they mentioned that I know you caught, because it's a big aha moment for a lot of people.
Oh, absolutely.
They explicitly mention decreasing reliance on animal testing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that is a game changer.
That is huge. Using AI to predict toxicity and efficacy in humans so we don't have to test on as many mice or primates, that feels like a pivotal shift.
It really is.
It's technology serving ethics.
It is. It's a convergence of ethics and efficiency. I mean, if a computer model can tell you a molecule is toxic before you ever put it in a living creature, you've saved resources and you've saved animal lives. But to get there, the model has to be right.
Of course.
If the model says safe and the drug is actually toxic, you have a catastrophe on your hands, and hence the need for these principles.
Right. It's a regulatory philosophy of careful management. They call these principles a foundation for developing good practice, or GXP.
And GXP is a term you're going to hear a lot. It stands for good practice, good clinical practice, good manufacturing practice, good laboratory practice.
Okay.
These principles are intended to guide international standards organizations. It's sort of the constitution before the specific laws are written.
So it anchors AI in the existing quality frameworks we've used for, 50 years?
Exactly.
Okay, let's get into the meat of it. We promised the listeners the 10 principles. Let's start with Section 2, the core philosophy. This covers Principles 1 and 2.
The starting blocks, yes.
Principle 1 is titled Human-Centric by Design. Now, to be honest, when I first read that, it sounded a bit like corporate fluff. We care about people.
It can sound that way.
But do you think this is actually the most important one? Why?
Because it frames everything else. Human-centric by design means that the AI isn't operating in a vacuum. Its development must align with ethical and, human-centric values. It's the regulator saying, remember what business you're in.
So why put this first? Why not start with, make sure the code works?
Because in medicine, the code is secondary to the patient, always. If you design a technically perfect model that discriminates against a certain demographic or that prioritizes profit over patient safety, you have failed, period.
So this principle centers the technology on the patient and the user.
Not just the algorithm. It reminds the developers, you are building this for people, not for a leaderboard on some data science website.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It's the North Star. If you lose sight of the patient, the rest of it doesn't matter.
Exactly.
Now, Principle 2 gets a bit more technical. Risk-based approach.
This is critical for the busy professional to understand. I mean, if you take one thing away from today, take this. Not all AI carries the same risk.
Oh.
Therefore, not all AI needs the same level of paperwork.
So if I'm using AI to sort my emails versus using AI to diagnose a heart condition,
Right.
those are treated differently.
Exactly. The document states that the level of validation and oversight should be proportionate to the risk.
And this is determined by what they call the context of use.
Right. So let's dive into that for a second. Imagine a model used in early discovery, and it's suggesting 1,000 potential molecules.
Okay.
If that model is, say, 10% wrong, what happens?
We waste a little time in the lab.
You waste a little time. The risk to a human life is near zero. The regulators aren't going to come down hard on that.
Right. It's low stakes.
Now, imagine a model used in a clinical trial to decide which patients get the experimental drug and which get the placebo.
Oh, okay.
Or a model used to analyze an X-ray and tell a doctor, this patient is cancer-free.
If that model is wrong, people die. Or they don't get treatment they need. The stakes are as high as they get.
Exactly. So the oversight for that X-ray model needs to be astronomically higher than the molecule sorting model.
So the key takeaway here is that oversight is determined by model risk.
Yes. You don't treat every AI tool like a nuclear weapon, but you also don't treat them all like a calculator. It allows companies to move fast on the low-risk stuff while ensuring safety on the high-risk stuff.
I like that. It prevents the regulation from just becoming a bottleneck. It's smart regulation.
It is.
Okay, moving on to Section 3, boundaries and standards. This covers Principles 3 and 4.
This is where we start building the walls of the house.
Principle 3 is adherence to standards. It basically says AI doesn't get a free pass on the rules we already have.
Correct. There's a tendency in tech, especially that sort of Silicon Valley culture, to think, oh, this is new, the old rules don't apply, we're disrupting things.
Right.
This document says, stop right there. AI technologies must adhere to relevant legal, ethical, technical, scientific, and cybersecurity standards.
And they explicitly mention GXP again.
Yes. Good practice. If
Yeah.
you are in manufacturing, you follow GMP. If you are in the clinic, GCP. AI is just another tool within those existing frameworks.
It prevents AI from becoming a Wild West.
It does. It anchors the new tech in established safety protocols. And don't forget cybersecurity. If your AI handles patient data, it has to be secure. You can't just say, oops, we got hacked and blame the algorithm.
Yeah.
That's not going to fly.
And Principle 4 ties back to what we were just saying. Clear context of use.
This sounds simple, but it's where so many projects fail.
What is my purpose? It sounds like a robot having an existential crisis.
Exactly. But in regulation, an existential crisis is a compliance violation. Every AI tool needs a well-defined role and scope.
You can't just throw AI at a problem and see what sticks.
No. The document emphasizes knowing exactly what the tool is for.
Can you give me an example of a bad context of use?
Sure. A bad context is, we built an AI to analyze patient data. It's too vague. It's meaningless.
Okay.
A good context of use is, we built an AI to screen non-contrast CT scans for early signs of lung nodules in patients aged 50, 70.
Ah, I see. Because if you don't define the parameters, you might use it on a 20-year-old or for a liver scan.
And it might hallucinate a result.
Right.
You have to define the sandbox. If the AI steps out of that sandbox, say a doctor tries to use that lung scanner on a child, it's no longer validated. It's scope creep. And in drug development, scope creep is incredibly dangerous.
So Principle 4 demands you write down the boundaries before you write a single line of code.
That's the idea.
That leads us perfectly into Section 4, the inputs, people, and data, Principles 5 and 6. This is where it gets really interesting for the teams actually building these things.
This is where the culture clash often happens.
Okay, so Principle 5 is multidisciplinary expertise.
Which is really just a polite way of saying, stop working in silos.
Right. Translation. You can't just hire a bunch of coders in Silicon Valley and expect them to cure cancer.
Exactly. And, conversely, you can't just have biologists who don't understand how a neural network actually functions. You need both.
The document says expertise must be integrated throughout the entire life cycle.
That's the key word there, integrated. It's not a relay race where the data scientists build a model and then just toss it over the wall to the clinicians.
They have to be in the same room.
Constantly. The tech side and the context side need to be talking to each other all the time.
Because the coder might not know that a certain blood protein level, fluctuates naturally during the day.
Right. And the biologist might not know that the model is overfitting to a specific data set. Let's say the data shows a spike in a certain enzyme.
Okay.
To a coder, that's just a number to normalize. It's a data point. To a biologist, that spike might mean the patient ate lunch right before the blood draw. If the coder doesn't know that context, they build a model that learns lunch equals disease.
That's a terrifying thought. Lunch equals disease.
It happens more than you'd think. Principle 5 is about breaking down those silos to prevent exactly those kinds of errors. It's a call for truly cross-functional teams.
Which brings us to the fuel
Right.
for these teams. Data. Principle 6 is data governance and documentation.
This is the unsexy part that saves your skin during an audit.
They use a fancy phrase here, data source provenance.
Provenance, yeah. It's like in the art world. If you buy a painting, you want to know who owned it, where it came from, if it's a fake.
Same with data.
Same with data. Where did this data come from? Was it a clinical trial in Japan? Was it real-world evidence from insurance claims in the U.S.?
And how was it cleaned? How was it processed?
Exactly. Processing steps and analytical decisions must be detailed, traceable, and verifiable.
Why is this so important?
Because AI is often a so-called black box. We don't always know exactly how it makes a decision, but if we don't even know what data it learned from, we are flying completely blind.
So if you can't trace how the AI learned something, you can't validate the drug it helped develop.
You can't. This is all about auditability. If the FDA knocks on your door 3 years from now and asks, why did the AI reject this molecule? And your answer is, we don't know. The data came from somewhere.
You're in big trouble.
You are in very big trouble. And they also explicitly mention privacy here, protection for sensitive data.
Which is non-negotiable in healthcare.
Completely. You can't train your model on patient data if you aren't protecting that patient's identity.
Okay, so we have the people, we have the data, now we build the machine. Section 5 covers principles 7 and 8.
Yep. Principle 7 is model design and development practices.
This sounds like standard software engineering.
It is, but it's applied to the high-stakes world of drug development. They mention keywords like interpretability, explainability, and predictive performance.
Let's unpack explainability. Why does that matter so much here?
Well, imagine the AI says, this molecule will fail in phase 3 trials. The scientist asks, why?
Right.
If the AI just says, because I said so, that's not good enough.
We need to know the why. We can't just trust the machine blindly.
We need to understand the features that are driving that prediction. Is it looking at the molecular weight, the solubility, or is it looking at some weird artifact in the data?
So the goal is transparency.
Transparency and generalizability.
I heard a story once about an AI that was trained to find skin cancer, but it actually just learned to identify rulers.
Oh, the ruler story, yes.
Because doctors put rulers next to the tumors in the photos.
That is a classic example. The AI learned ruler equals cancer. If you don't have explainability, if you can't peek under the hood to see what the model is actually looking at, you would deploy that model and it would fail on any patient who didn't have a ruler on their skin.
Right.
Principle 7 mandates that we verify what the model is actually learning.
And they mention using data that is fit for use.
Which just means the data used to train the model must actually match the problem you're solving. You can't train a model on adult data and expect it to work for pediatrics without serious validation.
Which leads us right to Principle 8, risk-based performance assessment. This is about testing.
But not just testing the code. And this is a really crucial detail. The document calls for testing the complete system, including human-AI interactions.
Oh, this is fascinating. So it's not just, does the software run without crashing?
No. It's, how does the human interact with the code?
Can you give me an example?
Let's go back to that radiologist. Suppose the AI is 99% accurate at spotting tumors. Great. But the user interface is so confusing that the doctor misreads the alert 50% of the time.
Okay.
Or maybe the AI highlights the tumor in a faint yellow color that's really hard to see on the monitor.
And the system fails, even if the math is perfect.
Exactly. The system isn't just the Python script. The system is the human plus the AI. If the human becomes complacent and blindly trusts the AI, that's a failure mode called automation bias.
Right.
If the human doesn't understand the output, that's a failure mode. Principle 8 says you have to validate the whole workflow.
That is a really profound point. It shifts the blame, or maybe the responsibility, from just the software vendor to the implementation team.
It does.
You have to design for the human user.
Absolutely. You aren't just shipping code, you are shipping a decision-making process.
Okay, we're coming into the home stretch. Section 6, the long haul. Principles 9 and 10.
Right. Principle 9 is lifecycle management.
The idea that the job isn't done when the software launches.
Correct. I mean, in the old days, you built a pill press, you calibrated it, and it ran for 10 years. AI isn't like that.
Why not?
Because of a specific threat called data drift.
I love this term. It sounds like a racing movie. What does data drift actually look like in the real world of pharma?
It means the reality of the data changes over time. So let's take an infectious disease model. You train it on the flu strains from 2020.
Okay.
By 2026, the virus has mutated. The data reality has drifted away from what the model learned. If you don't update that model, its accuracy plummets.
Or maybe patient demographics in a region change. Or a hospital upgrades its equipment.
Exactly. Imagine a hospital upgrades all its CT scanners to a new brand with a higher resolution. Suddenly, the images look different to the AI than the ones it was trained on.
And the model starts failing.
It starts failing. That is data drift. And Principle 9 requires scheduled monitoring and periodic reevaluation. You need risk-based quality management systems to catch this drift before it hurts someone.
So you have to keep checking under the hood every few months.
Forever. As long as that model is in use. It's like a subscription model for compliance.
And finally, Principle 10, clear essential information.
Communication.
The audience here is users and patients. And the requirement is plain language.
Yes. This is near and dear to my heart. We are dealing with arguably the most complex technology humans have ever built.
Right.
But if you cannot explain it to the patient who is taking the drug or the doctor prescribing it, you have a problem.
What specifically do they need to communicate?
The context of use, the performance, the limitations, and the underlying data.
So telling a patient this drug was developed using AI isn't enough.
No, that's just marketing. You might need to say something like, this diagnostic tool helps detect skin cancer, but it has only been validated on these specific skin types, and it is not a replacement for a biopsy.
Why does this matter so much?
Because of expectations. If a patient or a doctor doesn't understand the AI's limitations, safety is compromised. If a doctor thinks the AI is infallible, they stop thinking critically.
They succumb to that magic black box effect.
Exactly. Plain language breaks the spell. It empowers the human to say, okay, the AI says X, but my training says Y. I'm going to investigate.
So we've unpacked all 10 principles. Let's zoom out for the outro.
Let's do it.
We've gone from human-centric by design all the way to plain language communication. It really feels like a loop.
It is a loop. It starts with ethics valuing the human, and it ends with communication talking to the human. The technology is just the filling in that sandwich.
And we should reiterate the partnership aspect here, that international piece.
Yes. The document emphasizes that strong partnerships with international public health partners are crucial. This isn't one company or one country solving this. It's a global standard for a global industry.
The FDA and EMA are setting the tone.
They're setting a tone for the rest of the world.
And looking to the future. The document calls this an initial collaborative work.
Right. It's January 2026. This is version 1.0 of the new world. As AI evolves, and it will evolve very quickly, these standards will evolve with it.
But the goal remains the same.
The goal remains the same, improving healthcare while maintaining that gold standard of safety and efficacy. We are moving from the Wild West to a civilized, regulated society.
I want to leave our listeners with a thought. We talked about Principle 8 human-AI interaction and Principle 1 human-centric.
Yes.
It seems to me that this document implies that the future isn't automated medicine.
No.
It's augmented medicine.
That's the perfect way to put it. The goal isn't to replace the scientist or the doctor. It's to give them a superpower. But that superpower comes with a very detailed instruction manual.
So here's the question for you, the listener. In your own professional workflow, are you treating AI as a replacement, something to do the work for you? Or are you treating it as a tool that requires rigorous human-led validation? Because according to the FDA and the EMA, if you aren't validating it, you aren't doing it right. And in this industry, getting it right is the only option.
Absolutely. Compliance isn't just paperwork anymore. It's the definition of competence.
Thanks for diving deep with us today. Hopefully this rulebook feels a little less intimidating now. We'll see you on the next one.
Stay curious.